New data shows the U.S. inflation rate dropped to 5% in March. This marks 9 months straight of easing inflation. Big question is, will the trend continue? And what does this mean for the U.S. economy? Tonight, we are joined live by Dr. Brian Blake, who is an assistant professor of finance at Mississippi State University. Thanks so much for joining us in this 9 o'clock hour, Dr. Blake.
Thanks for having me.
Just to start out, talk for a minute about what does the drop in the inflation rate to 5% most recently have to say about the U.S. economy now and maybe in the next few months?
Typically, inflation is not predictive of economic growth, but it does often slow at the same time. Though that's not always the case, inflation right now is still pretty high, despite coming off its recent peak. And likewise, the economy is still growing rather quickly, with the first quarter expected to be at about 2.5%, even if it is finally slowing after recession calls for almost a year now.
And what do you think has contributed to the inflation rate reduction that we're seeing? What's sort of led to that, and what do you expect the downward, and do you expect really the trend to continue with what we've seen so far?
Yeah, so inflation is slowing largely because of what economists often refer to as core goods getting cheaper. Many of these products are things that you buy, like electronics or vehicles, even household products, and a lot of them are seeing larger discounts now. Even items like eggs and energy, which have been rising a lot over the past year, are beginning to fall now. And some of these falling prices may ease a little bit, but the overall trend with inflation continuing to slow down is expected to continue, even if for different reasons than this particular month.
I know eggs in particular, a lot of people are ready to see those prices come down after they were just sky high recently. What does the drop in the inflation rate indicate about the possible recession you just mentioned?
Well, like I said, the economy is still growing rather quickly right now, and this is somewhat surprising to many, especially as all the recession discussions have been happening for months now. However, slowing inflation likely means that the Federal Reserve can stop raising rates pretty soon, which could mean that the U.S. might be able to thread the needle and avoid a recession this year if we're lucky.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us on this Friday night, staying up with us tonight, Dr. Blake. We appreciate your insight and kind of giving us some professional perspective into this. Hopefully we'll see this trend continuing and prices continuing to get lower.
Thanks for having me.
Have a good night.